So, just a real quick tip today. I wanted to talk about what's in a name. I have a lot of students who uh, inadvertently teach their dog or have an expectation that when they call their dog's name that the dog should come running and that they come to them. And that actually creates a lot of problems later on. So when it comes to a name, first thing I do is I encourage you to have like a formal name, like this is your working name, and then I have a fun name, like this is the name that I use kind of on a daily basis, maybe a nickname, something like that. For instance, when I was a child, I grew up as Jenny. Okay. And then if my mom was kind of upset, she would say Jennifer. Like, pay attention. And then if I was really in big trouble, it was Jennifer Ann, So I do the same thing with my dogs. Like all of my dogs have had middle names, and B, they've all had nicknames. And you guys all know my nickname for Stanley, right? What's his nickname? Brown Dog. He responds to Brown Dog. He responds to Stanley. The difference is, so that he can respond, he can listen to me with both names. But the difference is when I say Stanley, you are like on the clock, you're working, you must listen, and you must comply. If I say Brown Dog, and he says, oh, I don't wanna, that's okay. Like we have this conversation because it's not a command, it's more of a request. The other thing I would encourage you when you think about the name in context to other people that you have a relationship with. So if I'm in the kitchen and Michael is in the family room, and I call, hey, honey, or, right, which is not his formal name, Michael, either or, he will do what? He will say what? He's not going to come running into the kitchen and, yes, honey, you called me. He's going to say what? So the name is an attention getter. It's a salutation. And after that is the cue or the directional, right? Did you call the plumber? That's just a flat out question. He doesn't need to move for that. Go get the dog, which is move away from me, probably. Come here, help me, right? So the name is the beginning, but it in and of itself is not a cue. It's a salutation. It gets your dog's attention, and then you need to follow that up with a cue. The second challenge that I see with many students is they will say something like, Fluffy, come. And that's great. However, if you've ever been in a situation where somebody says something to you and you hear them, but you don't hear them, right? You're like, wait, what? Like I heard you, but I didn't understand you. And we've all had that situation happen. So imagine for a moment your dog is sniffing a bush, right? And I know that, to us, that's not that important. Like we don't care. And he's just like into it, digging it, right? It's kind of the equivalent of us watching a movie. And he's in there, sniff, 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 like this is amazing. And we call, Fluffy, come. Sniff, sniff, wait, what? And then you have to repeat the cue. Come, right? It's much better. It's a cleaner delivery. Fluffy. Wait till they wrap up, and then they look at you and they say, what? And then you can say, come. If Fluffy does not get a response, it means you've poisoned your dog's name, meaning you just call it all the time and they have just learned to ignore you. So you need to do some remedial name recognition. Name means look at me, flick an ear, pay attention to me in some way, shape, or form, and reward that. And pretty soon their name will mean something. And then you can use their name and you can and reward their name. Then they look at you and then you can add your directional. And so from there, a lot of people say, well, my dog needs to come immediately. I get that. And that's why I offer an emergency recall class in the summer. It's called Rock and Recall and Solid Stay. But the problem is, once you learn an emergency recall, you really do need to use it in an emergency. And day-to-day living, you call your dog all the time and you don't reward it, right? So keep that in mind, that we want to keep them separate. So just to recap really quickly, their name means look at me, and then follow it up with a variety of directional cues, but it in and of itself is not a cue to come when you've called. So that's just a quick tip on their name. If you want to give your dog a nickname, I encourage that. If you want to shorten your dog's name, give him a whole new name, you can. But the name is look at me, and then followed up with a variety of other things. So watch how often you use your dog's name when it doesn't mean anything, and watch how often you use their name as a reprimand. Fluffy! Well, guess what? If you do that, they're not going to want to come. They're not going to want to be enticed to listen to you when you call their name. So keep their name positive, keep their name rewarded, have a working name, have a fun name, and understand that a name is a salutation. It is not a cue. All right, that's it for now. Catch you guys later.